Hi guys, what's going on? And welcome back to another episode of Conqueror's Blade. So, something a little bit different today. We have a bit of a document outside of Conqueror's Blade, which I noticed first on Reddit from this post here, from this guy called Arctic Warlord. Unit stats and leadership cost sheet. I thought, sounds interesting. I'll go and take a bit of a look. And even though it's quite a basic but just really awesome little document, it basically takes all the unit tech trees from in the game and basically puts them into Excel format so you can view all the different statistics much easier. Because if you've ever tried to compare two units in the tech tree in Conqueror's Blade, it's actually pretty difficult to do because not only do you have to go into the unit to get the more details, you can't directly compare it to the other one without sort of going out, clicking on the next unit, finding those sort of details. So it actually becomes quite complicated to do. So there's a few different aspects to this spreadsheet. Firstly, it's just got the leadership costs of all the different units done by era. So you've got rustic era across the top, obviously just the peasants, then the feudal era, the chivalric, silver and heroic, and then golden at the bottom. You can see there's a few interesting things that I've never actually noticed because I've never actually individually gone through every single unit in the game. First thing I noticed that all golden era units cost the same, which kind of seems an interesting little thing. But there's a few things you notice that kind of stand out of things being in the wrong era. So for example, if we look at the silver era, everything's, 190, 160, 180, 175, 180s, 190s, 185, 270. You can see the slight discrepancy here with the spear sergeants. And interestingly, I've just unlocked these. They're actually a 4-star unit as well, so they actually count towards your golden era unlock, even though they're a silver era unit technically. So I wonder if they've actually kind of been placed in the wrong era. These guys really should be a heroic era because these guys cost more experience than the equivalent heroic era men at arms in that unit. Just kind of little things that you could kind of notice when you can compare all these things together. And then you can see the different costs obviously in the heroic era. But then we can break that down into much more detail when we start to get all the available stats on the various infantry, and you can kind of compare things a lot better. So it's kind of nice when you're thinking, do I prefer prefecture pikemen or do I prefer halberds? And you can kind of chop and change it and compare the various different units. I was actually quite surprised just the movement speed differences I've never really noticed. It's not that surprising, I don't suppose, that all the shield units have such a slow movement speed. But then it kind of, I guess that kind of goes to show that when it's like 4 compared to say the sword militia at 6.5, really quite a big difference. Amazing how much that difference will make when you've got calling a unit towards you. It's not that surprising that some of these guys seem to take ages to actually get to you when they've got such a slow movement speed compared to some units. You then, of course, can take a look at their damage. It doesn't point out primary damage type. You have got to be careful there. So I don't know. I don't actually know off the top of my head if halberdiers do piercing or slashing damage. I certainly doubt they do blunt damage. Probably you never know. But it actually lists all the values, but obviously they'll primarily do one. Probably piercing, I would have thought, but maybe slashing. And then obviously we've got all the armor values down here at the bottom. Interesting to go to show that you see how low blunt armor values are in comparison to slashing and piercing defense. You can see how tough those Iron Reapers are. Look at their armor stats are quite impressive. Certainly very high. But you can kind of see and compare, and you can see why things like Prefecture Pikemen, which is so good on the charge, then going to go soft so quickly. I mean, look at that piercing defense of only 214. No wonder they get cut down by archers so quickly when they have such little armor in that area. Then you can compare that to, say, some Iron Cap Spearmen, which is 303, or the Prefecture Guards, which is 323, which is actually kind of significantly better. Obviously, it doesn't have things like the amount of block because that's some hidden statistics that the developers haven't actually released to us. So things like that we don't actually know about currently. But it's just a really interesting and kind of useful little thing to look at and kind of compare how these different units compare the range of different units, compare the ammo capacity of the different units, the piercing penetration, get an idea of what the base penetration of the various things are. And you can see the Imperial Archers hitting a lot harder. Well, actually, not that much harder on their piercing damage. 2,000 to 1,900 on the Mercenary Longbowmen. You can see both the muskets do pretty similar damage amounts. And it kind of gives you that idea of kind of what you're going to be coming up against. You can see all the archers are generally pretty squishy. Although, actually, some of the crossbowmen have got reasonably decent armour. Actually, and the Fusiliers actually not so bad either. And the Terrico Arquebusiers, very high slashing defense. I have to look into them. Then, of course, it does have cavalry as well. Obviously, not so many people there on cavalry. I kind of wish he hadn't split up the chivalric unit line into its own column. I kind of get why he did, because obviously it is in game, but really these are melee infantry and cavalry. I'd rather see them over there. I think that would kind of make things a little bit easier. But just if you hadn't actually noticed, have you ever looked at the piercing and slashing defense of these monastic knights? I mean, no wonder they're so popular. I mean, God, they're invincible. What a ridiculous amount of armor for a cavalry unit. That certainly makes them pretty strong. But anyway, I just wanted to introduce that to you as a kind of cool little spreadsheet. Certainly something I've found pretty useful when I'm thinking about what units I want to be researching next, what tech tree I'm going to be going down with my honour points next. And I thought it might be something you guys can find useful as well. I'll put a link to it down in the description below. I'll also put a link to his Reddit post so you can go over and give it a like and stuff like that, or give him a comment if you want to say thank you sort of thing to him, because I think he's certainly pretty cool that he's taken the time to go and do this. Anyway, that's all I've got for you today. Just a little, hopefully, handy thing. If it is, let me know what you think in the comments down below. Subscribe to the channel for lots more Conqueror's Blade content, and I shall see you guys all on the next video.